You're struggling and nobody notices. Not because they're bad people. Not because you don't matter. But because the system was never designed to notice when men are drowning. It was designed to expect it. To rely on it and profit from it. There's a man right now sitting in his car in a parking lot. He's been there for 40 minutes. Engine off. Phone in his hand. He's not going anywhere. He's just sitting. He's not scrolling. Not calling anyone. Just staring at nothing. His wife thinks he's working late. His boss thinks he left on time. His friends, if he still has any, think he's busy. Nobody knows he's sitting in a parking lot trying to remember when life stopped feeling manageable. He's not unique. This is happening right now in thousands of parking lots across the country. Men sitting in cars. Not because they have nowhere to go. But because they have nowhere they want to be. And nobody's looking for them. Men are dying by their own hand at epidemic rates, and the national conversation is about toxic masculinity. About how men need to open up more. About how men need to be vulnerable. As if the problem is that men aren't trying hard enough to be saved. But what nobody wants to admit is when men do open up, when men ask for help, when men show vulnerability, the response isn't support. It's dismissal. It's discomfort. It's a quiet shift in how people see you. Because society doesn't actually want vulnerable men. It wants stoic men who occasionally admit they're struggling but never actually burden anyone with it. It wants men to perform vulnerability just enough to seem emotionally available but not enough to actually need support. And men know this. That's why they don't open up. Not because of toxic masculinity. But because they've tried it and learned that their pain makes people uncomfortable. Let me tell you about James. Not his real name. Man I knew from work years ago. Mid-30s. Good job. Married. 2 kids. From the outside, everything looked fine. Then his wife left. Took the kids. Filed for divorce. And James started to unravel. He mentioned it to friends. Going through a rough time. They said the right things. That sucks, man. Let me know if you need anything. We should grab a beer. Nobody grabbed a beer. Nobody followed up. Nobody checked in. Because men supporting men emotionally isn't something we know how to do. We know how to grab beers and talk about sports. We know how to help someone move. We know how to give advice about work. But sitting with another man's pain, hearing him actually struggle, that's not in the manual. Now let me tell you about Sarah. Same company. Same situation. Divorce. Kids. Falling apart. Within a week, women at the office had organized. They took her to lunch. They texted to check in. They offered to babysit. They created a support system without her even asking. Nobody did that for James. Not because women are better people. But because we've collectively decided that women's pain requires community response and men's pain requires individual resilience. Women are allowed to fall apart. Men are allowed to quietly disappear. And before you say this is about men not reaching out, let me stop you. Men do reach out. They just do it differently. A man doesn't say, I need help. He says, I'm not sleeping well, or work's been stressful, or I've been better. And when nobody picks up on those signals, when nobody digs deeper, when nobody follows up, he learns that his struggles aren't worth anyone's time. So he stops mentioning them. And we call that toxic masculinity. As if the problem is him, not the system that taught him his pain is a burden. There's a reason nobody notices when men are struggling. We've been conditioned not to. Throughout history, male disposability has been the silent contract that keeps society functioning. Men are the expendable resource. The shock absorbers. The ones who take the hit so others don't have to. Titanic goes down, women and children first. Men stay on the sinking ship. Not because they're braver. Because they're expected to lay their lives for others. Ukraine gets invaded, men aged 18 to 60 are banned from leaving the country. Women and children evacuate. Men stay and fight. Not because they chose to. Because they're forced to. Workplace deaths in the US, 93% are men. Not because women aren't strong enough. But because society puts men in the dangerous jobs and doesn't think twice about it. Homelessness, 70% are men. But shelters prioritize women and children. Services focus on women and children. Sympathy goes to women and children. This isn't a conspiracy. It's not a coordinated effort to harm men. It's something deeper and more insidious. It's the unspoken belief that men's lives are inherently worth less. That men's pain matters less. That men's deaths are more acceptable. And men have internalized this. We've accepted it. We've built our entire identities around being the ones who endure, who sacrifice, who die quietly so others can live loudly. And when that weight becomes unbearable, when men start to crack under the pressure of being endlessly disposable, we're told the problem is that we're not strong enough. Not that the system is broken. But that we are. Let me tell you about an experiment carried out by researchers. They showed people videos of men and women in pain. Physical pain. Same level of injury. Same expressions of suffering. People consistently rated women's pain as more severe. They were more likely to want to help women. More likely to believe women were actually hurting. Men's pain was rated as less severe. Less believable. Less worthy of intervention. Same pain. Different response. This is called the empathy gap. And it explains everything about how society treats struggling men. When a woman is depressed, people ask what happened to her. When a man is depressed, people ask what's wrong with him. When a woman is angry, people ask who hurt her. When a man is angry, people ask why he's being aggressive. When a woman cries, it's vulnerability. When a man cries, it's weakness. We've trained ourselves to see women's emotions as valid responses to circumstances and men's emotions as character flaws. And men feel this. Every single day. They feel it when they mention they're struggling and people change the subject. They feel it when they show emotion and people get uncomfortable. They feel it when they ask for support and people tell them to man up. And after feeling it enough times, they stop trying. Not because they don't need help. But because they've learned that asking for it makes things worse. Because now you're not just struggling. You're the guy who can't handle it. The guy who's falling apart. The guy people avoid because your pain makes them uncomfortable. So you suffer alone. Quietly. Until you can't anymore. And then everyone says, I had no idea, and why didn't he reach out, and men need to be more open about their feelings. As if the problem was his silence. Not their deafness. Men are lonelier than they've ever been. And I don't mean, I wish I had more friends, lonely. I mean, I haven't had a meaningful conversation in months, lonely. Studies show that after age 30, the average man has fewer than 2 close friends. By 40, many have none. Not because they don't want friends. But because the infrastructure for male friendship has collapsed. We used to have spaces. Bowling leagues. Unions. Lodges. Churches. Places where men gathered regularly, naturally, without it being a big production. Those spaces are gone. And nothing replaced them. Now male friendship requires intentionality. You have to text. Make plans. Coordinate schedules. It's work. And men are already exhausted. Working 50 hours a week. Trying to be present for kids. Trying to keep marriages alive. Trying to pay bills that keep going up while wages stay flat. The idea of adding maintain friendships to that list feels impossible. So friendships fade. Not dramatically. Not with a fight. They just slowly dissolve into, we should grab a beer sometime, that never happens. And men end up with one person they talk to. Their wife or girlfriend. She becomes their entire emotional support system. Which creates its own problem. Because women aren't built to be a man's only emotional outlet. They have their own struggles. Their own needs. Their own support systems. But men put everything on them. Every fear. Every stress. Every moment of vulnerability. And when that relationship ends, whether through breakup or divorce or death, men are left with nothing. No friends to call. No community to lean on. No one who knows what they're going through. Just silence. And that silence kills. Let's talk about what society expects from men at work. You're supposed to be ambitious. Driven. Climbing the ladder. Providing. Building something. But also balanced. Present for your kids. Emotionally available for your partner. Taking care of your health. You're supposed to work 50 to 60 hours a week to afford the life your family wants. But also be home for dinner. Be at every soccer game. Be the fun dad. Be the engaged husband. You're supposed to sacrifice your time, your health, your friendships for your career. But not complain about it. Not let it affect your mood. Not let anyone see you struggling. Because if you do, you're not committed enough at work. And you're not present enough at home. The expectation is that you'll be everything to everyone and nothing will suffer. Not your career. Not your marriage. Not your kids. Not yourself. Except something always suffers. And it's usually you. Men are dying earlier than women. Heart disease. Stress-related illness. Suicide. The statistics are brutal. And the response isn't, maybe we're asking too much of men. It's, men need to take better care of themselves. As if the problem is individual choice. Not the system that grinds men down and then blames them for breaking. Go to the gym. Eat better. See a therapist. Meditate. Journal. All good advice. All helpful. But none of it addresses the core issue. The core issue is that men are expected to endure. To sacrifice. To provide. And if they can't handle it, they're failing at being a man. Not that the system is inhumane. But that they're not man enough for the system. And men internalize this. They believe it. They push harder. Work longer. Sacrifice more. Until their bodies give out or their minds do. And then we act surprised. An entire generation of men raised by fathers who couldn't show emotion. Couldn't be vulnerable. Couldn't say, I love you, or I'm proud of you, or I'm struggling too. Not because they didn't feel it. But because they were raised the same way. Generational trauma passed down through silence. And now we have men in their 30s and 40s trying to figure out how to be emotionally available fathers while having no model for what that looks like. They're trying to break the cycle. Trying to be present for their kids in ways their fathers weren't present for them. But they're doing it without support. Without guidance. Without anyone acknowledging how hard it is to give something you never received. They're told to be vulnerable, show emotions, break the toxic masculinity cycle. But when they try, when they show up honestly with their struggles and fears and pain, people get uncomfortable. Because we want men to be emotionally available in theory. In practice, we still expect them to hold it together. We want them to perform vulnerability. To show just enough emotion to seem human. But not so much that they actually need something from us. And men feel this contradiction every day. They feel it when they open up to their partners and see that look of disappointment. Not conscious. Not intentional. But there. That flicker of, I need you to be stronger than this. They feel it when they show emotion around other men and everyone gets quiet and changes the subject. They feel it when they tell their kids, it's okay to cry, while holding back their own tears because grown men don't cry. And they know they're failing. Failing to break the cycle. Failing to be the father they wanted to have. Failing to be the man everyone expects. Not because they're not trying. But because they're trying to do something impossible. Be vulnerable without being weak. Show emotion without needing support. Break generational trauma while carrying it alone. Modern men are held to an impossible standard. You're supposed to be strong but sensitive. Confident but humble. Ambitious but balanced. Providing but present. Masculine but emotionally available. You're supposed to be the protector who never needs protection. The provider who never struggles. The rock who never crumbles. And if you fail at any of this, if you crack under the weight of these contradictions, the problem is you. Not the standards. You. Women have been having conversations about impossible standards for decades. The pressure to be beautiful but natural. Successful but not intimidating. Confident but not aggressive. And those conversations led to change. To body positivity. To challenging workplace discrimination. To broader definitions of success and worth. Men haven't had that conversation. Not really. Because when men talk about struggling with standards, it's called whining. It's called fragile masculinity. It's called trying to reclaim victimhood. So men don't talk about it. They just try to meet every standard and hate themselves when they can't. They try to be strong and emotionally available. Try to provide and be present. Try to lead and be equal partners. And they fail. Over and over. Not because they're not trying. But because the standards contradict each other. You can't be stoic and vulnerable. You can't be the provider and the equal partner. You can't be the leader and take a back seat. But we expect men to be all of it. All the time. And when they're not, when they choose one over the other, when they prioritize their marriage over their career or their mental health over their ambition, they're told they're not man enough. Not that the standards are impossible. But that they're not capable. Nobody's coming to save you. Nobody's checking if you're okay. Nobody's organizing a support system or following up on that offhand comment you made about struggling. Not because people are cruel. But because they don't know how. Or they're too busy with their own struggles. Or they assume you've got it handled because you always have. You're drowning and everyone thinks you're swimming. And at some point, you have to make a choice. You can keep waiting for someone to notice. Keep dropping hints. Keep hoping someone will dig deeper and ask the questions you can't ask yourself. Or you can accept that nobody's coming. And save yourself. Not dramatically. Not with some grand gesture. But by making one small choice toward survival. Then another. Then another. Call a friend. Not to talk about your problems. Just to connect. Just to remember what it feels like to be more than your struggle. See a therapist. I know that feels like admitting defeat. It's not. It's admitting you need help. Which every single person does. You're just honest enough to seek it. Take a day off work. Not to be productive. To rest. To breathe. To remember life exists outside of grinding. Join something. A gym. A group. A class. Something that puts you around people regularly. Not to make best friends. Just to not be alone. Tell someone you're struggling. Not your wife who's already carrying too much. Not your mom who'll worry. Someone outside your immediate circle. A therapist. A hotline. A friend who's been through it. You don't have to fix everything today. You just have to survive today. And then tomorrow. And then the day after. And slowly, without even realizing it, you'll stop just surviving and start living again. Not because anyone saved you, but because you saved yourself. I called this video "Nobody Cares If You're Struggling." And that's the point. Not because nobody actually cares, but because the system is designed to function whether you're okay or not. Work doesn't stop because you're depressed. Bills don't pause because you're overwhelmed. Life doesn't slow down because you need it to. Society needs men to keep going. Keep providing. Keep enduring. Keep sacrificing. And it's built around the assumption that you will. Because you always have. But that's not sustainable. And the statistics prove it. Men are dying younger. Killing themselves more. Suffering alone more. And the response is always individual. Get therapy. Exercise more. Open up. Never systemic. Never about changing the expectations. Never about acknowledging that maybe we're asking too much and offering too little. So yes, nobody cares if you're struggling. Not personally. Not individually. But the system needs you to struggle. Needs you to endure. Needs you to keep going no matter what. That's the point. And once you see it, once you understand that the game is rigged, you have two choices. You can rage against it. Fight the system. Demand better. Or you can opt out. Not of life, but of the expectations that are killing you. You can decide that you don't have to be everything to everyone. That you don't have to sacrifice yourself to prove your worth. That you don't have to meet standards that contradict each other. You can decide that your mental health matters more than your productivity. That your peace matters more than your ambition. That your life matters more than your usefulness. And that might mean disappointing people. It might mean being seen as less than. It might mean accepting that you'll never meet the standard. But you'll survive. And survival, in a system designed to grind you down, is an act of rebellion. This is beneath behavior. I'm not here to tell you what to do. I'm here to show you what's there. If this resonated, you're not alone. Millions of men are struggling with this right now. Silently. Alone. Thinking they're the problem. They're not. You're not. The system is. Drop a comment. Tell me what you're struggling with. What you wish people understood. What you need to say that you've never said out loud. This is a judgment-free space. Subscribe for more uncomfortable truths about being a man in the modern world.